So you want to do a Spartan Ultra race. Well, this video is going to be for you because I did my Ultra race in November 2024, about 1 month ago from today. I just wanted to make this video so it can outline the training, the gear on the race day, and the mentality that you need to have when you go in to compete or just complete a Spartan Ultra race. Just proof, I did complete my Fiji Ultra in November, so this is real. And my Spartan race journey was not without problems, not without mistakes. Because when I first started Spartan racing, my nutrition wasn't that good. My training wasn't that good. I didn't strength train enough. So certain obstacles were too difficult for me. Or because my nutrition wasn't right on the race day, I would cramp out. And you don't want to have cramps. You don't want to have muscle cramps and then not be able to climb an obstacle or even injure yourself because you fall from an obstacle due to these muscle cramps. So the first section I'll be talking about in this video is the cardio and, I guess, endurance aspect of Spartan racing and training for your Spartan race. A Spartan race is a race. It's a long distance obstacle course race, and you're going to need legs that can run. But in order to make sure this race is as easy as possible for you, you have to dial in your running. Not just normal running, but running on hills. But just start easy. Like start if you struggle with like just consistency when it comes to running, start by running 2 kilometers. Just get 2 kilometers in. 2 kilometers in every single day. 2 kilometers every day is like 14 kilometers a week. And then build your way up. Maybe 3 kilometers a day, 4 kilometers a day, 5 kilometers a day. Maybe some days you do a little bit more, some days you do a little bit less. And then once you have that foundation of running, then you want to push yourself by running hills. You don't have to sprint the whole way, but you should go at an easy pace. Don't try and like rush your run. Go easy. Stay in zone 2. You should be able to have a conversation with somebody as you're running. You shouldn't be that breathless. A lot of people, myself included, I just set like a goal for like 5K that day. I was like, I'm gonna run that 5K as fast as I can. That's not the idea you want to have, because if you run too quickly, then you're building your anaerobic base instead of your aerobic base. Anaerobic base is like your power output, your powerful system of like releasing energy in exercise. Whereas your aerobic system is slow, it's controlled. It's what's more so required for endurance events like the Ultra. Literally jog at like a slow pace for a long time, or as long as you can. And that's going to build up your cardio far better than running sprints or running in high intensity runs. You can put them in there, but the majority of your training should be low intensity runs. And as I mentioned before, a lot of these ultra races, they're not on flat ground. Usually they're on very, very steep places. Especially with the Fiji Ultra, I think we had about 900 meters of elevation gain. And to prepare yourself for the elevation gain, you should get used to either going on a treadmill and running on an incline, or jogging on an incline, or walking on an incline. Just having the incline set as high as you can and just trying to see if you can go for as long as possible. That way you really build up your legs and get them used to climbing up elevation. And if you want to improve yourself even more, use the Stairmaster or walk upstairs, or just do anything where you're walking upstairs, because that elevation gain or those same muscle groups are what is mainly required to climb up these mountains, or up these big hills. I shouldn't call them mountains, but big steep hills. And at some points in my Fiji race, I think that the incline was like 34% at some points, and I think the average incline was like 8%. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, that's the cardio aspect. Just build up a really strong cardio base. And if you're trying to run the 50, you don't have to be able to run 50 kilometers comfortably. Like, sure, if you want to be hella competitive, you can do that. But even if you can do 25 kilometers somewhat comfortably, then you're fine to do the race. Like the race doesn't require that much of you. If you can do 25 kilometers, just half the distance in a decent pace at a decent, reasonable time. So for the second part of the video, it's going to be about strength training. How should you be training to have a strong body, strong, muscles, push-pull muscles, like leg muscles, in order to do well in the obstacles. Now, what I did was pretty generic. Like, I just followed my normal push-pull leg split over the course of that whole time, really heavily putting emphasis on building a stronger back, building stronger arms, and doing certain carry activities. Like, for example, not all gyms might have this, but putting a 20 kilogram sandbag kind of thing on my back. All this, I don't know what they call it. Like, there's there's these things that are like sandbags, but they're not sandbags. I don't know, I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll put it as like the word somewhere out here if I figure it out when I'm editing this. Putting it on your back and then just doing like lunges. So then you get used to that the feeling of that weight on your body. I think the sandbag carries are like 30 kilograms for men, and I think there's other obstacles like the Hercules hoist, which is 70 kilograms for men. I'm not sure what the numbers are for the goals, but it's a little bit less. The bucket carries, I think, about 25 kilograms, something like that. Yeah, so like you can also just practice bucket carrying at at your house. So in addition to my push-pull leg split, I'll probably put these like my actual exercises out here so people can like see what I did. So expect them to be out here somewhere. So for push-pull legs, in addition to that, you want to do more so like obstacle specific exercises. So you can just take a bucket, buy a bucket from like your hardware store. I got a bucket and I put like 3 bricks in that bucket that just duct taped around so they wouldn't move around as much. And I just carried it around, walked around my garden basically to practice a bucket carry. Yeah, you can do stuff like that. Now, I will say there are some obstacles that I do really good in, like carrying things, going under things, rope stuff. But I suck when it comes to like the rope climb. I suck when it comes to certain I think the multi-rig, like there's a few obstacles that I'll be honest that I don't actually know how to do that well. Like that I'm still working on myself. So I can't give you the best advice around that. So in addition to your strength training, you're going to want to focus on your burpee endurance. Now, the ultras, they're changing slightly. In the past, when it came to Spartan races, if you failed an obstacle, you'd have to do 30 burpees right then and there. But at least for my Spartan Ultra, we actually didn't have to do 30 burpees on the spot. Instead, if you failed an obstacle, you'll get a little mark on your tag, on your wristband. And then at the very end of the race, you have to then pump out the burpees, or they might give you some special mystery challenge thing that you'd have to do. I think the mystery challenge was like you'd have to carry two water buckets, and you'd have to like go through this smaller obstacle course, go underneath some things, go over some things, and yeah, so like they might throw that in there for you for your ultra, because they are moving away from the burpees on the spot, because I'm not sure. Like, I'm actually not sure why they're doing that, but maybe just so then people can actually reach the time cutoffs. The gear and nutrition on race day is probably the most important thing. You can be strong, you can be fit, but if you don't have the right gear, you're going to have a really bad time. On my actual race, like I've actually seen tons of people who are just like stranded on the side, who just didn't have like electrolytes, didn't have like the right stuff with them, the right nutrition on race day. So they just couldn't finish. Like half the people that actually started my Spartan race didn't finish. I'll mention what gear I have and why it's important. Like, why did I pick that particular gear / nutrition? So first thing, sunglasses. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It's very sunny in some of these places, especially in Fiji. So sunglasses to protect your eyes from the sun. A breathable shirt. Now, this is a compression shirt. I don't recommend you racing in this because this doesn't have holes in it to allow for air. You want something that's breathable. Now, my actual shirt that I wore was some Under Armour shirt, and that Under Armour shirt is perforated, has tiny holes. So then if the breeze comes through, it cools me down. Just if I sweat, the sweat can very easily evaporate, cooling me down. Shorts, yeah, you just need shorts. And compression leggings. People can go without the compression leggings if they are in a very hot climate, but the reason why I chose to wear compression leggings, even though the temperature was like 30 plus degrees Celsius and it was super sunny, is because there's obstacles where there's like splinters coming out of it. There's ways that you might get cut up, especially on your legs, when it comes to like vegetation and things like that. And especially if you're going for a swim in the water, or you're wading through water, extra protection against things like leeches or anything that wants to bite you. So that's why I wore my compression leggings. I also wore a buff. So if you don't know what a buff is, but it's like this thing that goes around your neck. You can cover your whole face. I just didn't choose to cover my whole face because it was kind of hot and I just wanted a bit more surface area of skin so then I can dissipate heat. But I wore the buff around my neck so that my neck wouldn't get burnt during the race. Sunscreen, so then, during especially something like Fiji where the UV index is so high, you don't want to get sunburnt and have to like get off of the race because you're sunburnt. You want to have sunscreen. especially if you have SPF 50 plus, like it'll basically protect you from getting sunburn. Because the last thing you want to do after your race is deal with muscle soreness as well as sunburn. Next thing is toe socks. So I didn't know what toe socks were until our captain of my team for the Spartan race actually told me about them. But toe socks are basically socks where they have like room for each individual toe separately. So it keeps each toe separated, so then you don't get blisters from running. So previously to this, whenever I go on really long runs or really long Spartan races like beasts, I would get blisters on my toes. But because of the toe socks, I didn't get a single blister, even though I ran like 50 kilometers for this particular race. And then over the toe socks, you want to have compression socks. So the compression socks, they help to improve blood flow. I don't know how true that is, but that's at least what they say. And also to keep out water and things from the toe socks that are underneath. So that's what I rocked. Hydration pack. So I got the Caribbean 2-liter Sky Crane hydration pack. Like any hydration pack which is 2 liters is fine. You don't have to go for the one that I did. Salomon running shoes. So Salomon trail running / obstacle course racing shoes. You don't want to use normal runners for the ultra or even just any Spartan race because they just don't have the right grip. And if you don't have the right grip, you're going to find yourself slipping on obstacles, slipping in the mud. Not having the grip that you need is also just dangerous. You're more likely to get injured. You're more likely to roll your ankle as well if your shoe slips. Invest in good shoes. The Salomons are really good. Like even if I'm on a very steep incline, the Salomons are fine with maintaining grip. If it's gravel, if it's mud, I haven't had a single problem with grip. Previous shoes that I worn from Nike, I think I wore like, what was it? It was like the Nike, whatever it is, some Nike trail running shoe, and it would slip everywhere when it was wet. It was just not something that I would recommend for people. So definitely get the Salomons. Hydrolytes. Let's talk about electrolytes for a minute. So one big reason why people fail these Spartan races is because they don't get their electrolytes right. Like you don't, like when you drink water, like people think hydrating yourself is just about drinking water. It's not. It's about drinking water and also getting the right electrolytes. Because I don't want to get too sciencey, but every time your muscles move, they contract, you are releasing sodium and potassium. They're leaching out calcium. These ions are being lost from the muscles. When you rest and you take some time to recover, they come back in, and like I could talk about all the fancy science stuff, but just know that you need to take electrolytes consistently through the race, especially if it's a very hot climate like Fiji. So take salt tablets with you. Take more than you think you need. Like I took probably like 30 salt tablets. You don't need that. You don't really need that much, but I brought a lot more in case some other people needed it. And along the track, I did find people who were cramping up, and I gave them salt tablets, and that helped them get on with their race. So salt tablets for sodium, getting sodium back into your body. Like just any salt tablets, sodium chloride. I just got ones that are like 1,000 milligrams. And I took about, I think 8 of them during the race, and then made some magnesium gummies and hydrolyte. Now what I did was I put the hydrolyte into my hydration packs, like water bladder thing. So I put a whole bunch of hydrolyte, put a whole bunch of water, shook it around, so that as I'm running and as I'm drinking, I'm getting electrolytes basically being given to me through my drink. You'll also need a headlamp. We didn't actually need a headlamp for our ultra race, but it was still mandatory that we brought it. So a headlamp and also a red light to put at the back of your hydration pack or just anything that you're carrying. The headlamp, you can just get it from any camping store. You can get that from any camping store. The red light, I just got like a red light that you put onto like a bicycle. I just like put it on one of the straps in my hydration pack on the outside. So yeah. And then next is your nutrition. Now, I used gummy bears and M&Ms, and before you judge me, I swear I looked on Reddit and online, and other people do it too. So don't judge me until you try it. So I don't like gels. Gels mess up my stomach, and I don't want to try something new on race day. And I like gummy bears and I like M&Ms. And if I'm 30, 40 kilometers into a race, I'm going to feel a lot better eating some of my favorite snacks than eating some like disgusting gels that are probably going to mess up my stomach and cause me to like, I don't know, just feel sick. There's a reason why I didn't just put like all the M&Ms and all the gummy bears into like one little Ziploc bag. There's 10 Ziploc bags there. So I actually plan out my nutrition. So every 5 kilometers, I force myself to eat some food. Because in the previous Spartan races, I would just try and roll dog the Spartan race. Like I just would be like, yo, I don't need to eat anything. Like I'll be fine. Like let me just run, just get plain water. That's it in my hydration pack. But man, like having some sugar in you, keeping those like sugar levels elevated helps so much. Like this so much. Like I didn't get as tired in this 50K ultra race than I've had in previous beast races, like 21K races, because I fueled up properly, because I can constantly ate every 5 kilometers. I made sure to take a salt tablet every 5 kilometers. I made sure to take some magnesium gummies every 5 kilometers. So then I keep my electrolyte levels high. I keep my sugar levels high. And I don't go into that slump that people go into after about an hour of exercising, because I'm still consuming stuff. I'm not just running on fats alone, like on fats that my body's burning. So that's what you need for race day. Now, in addition to this gear, I also had a emergency whistle, which is required by most ultras, and an emergency blanket, like one of those foil blankets, the survival blankets, I think that's what they're called. So yeah, that was all my gear, and that's essentially what you need for the ultra race. So yeah, so that's fitness part talked about, nutrition part talked about on race day, and the gear part talked about on race day. Yeah, the next thing is just your mindset, because a lot of people, they give up way before their body gives up. They give up in their mind. And I saw this on race day. Like my team, we only made it to, I think we only made it to like the cutoff times. Like we have to reach like a certain like cutoff like time, otherwise we'll be disqualified. I think most people got disqualified out of everyone that started that race, because ultras are pretty difficult. But even within the first 5 kilometers, I remember seeing people running down the mountain because they just gave up. And I would see certain people just on the side of the track, just when I'm heading back down, and they're getting like medically removed from the area. But when you talk to them, you offer them like salt tablets, you offer them some stuff to help them, and they're just like, nah, it's okay, I'll just go home. I'm not prepared for this. But they look pretty fit, and I don't think it requires that much fitness to complete this. I think that even if you were like moderately fit, you just have to mentally push through, and just not give up. Just put one foot in front of the other. Just don't focus on the whole 50 kilometers, focus on the next kilometer, and then the next kilometer, and then the next kilometer. And then don't think about, hey, like I gotta do 50 kilometers. The way I broke it down was we do 8 kilometers. That's like at least for my beast, it was 8 kilometers, no obstacles, then 2 21-kilometer races. So I was just like, all right, well, 8 kilometers, that's not that much. Let's focus on getting that done. 8 kilometers are done. Cool. Now 21 kilometers is just a beast. So I just get the beast done. Then I get to eat some food in the transition zone. And then I can move on to the next beast. That's the way I broke it down in my mind. Like on the actual race day, you come in, around 6 a.m. They do all the registration stuff. You get ready. You start your race. You have about, at least for my race, you do 29 kilometers, and then there's a transition zone. And the transition zone is basically like the halfway mark for your race. It's a bit more than halfway. And because it's a bit more than halfway, I just use that as well for my mentality aspect, where I'm just like, okay, well, if we've already done more than half, let's just push through. There's less than halfway to go. But at the transition zone, you want to have something that you can eat. You want to have a fresh pair of socks that you can wear if your socks are completely like soiled from going in the mud and going through rivers and things. You don't want to go too heavy with the food that you're going to eat in the transition zone. I brought an orange, I brought an apple, there's some fruits, something that's relatively light. And drink plenty of water. Drink a lot of water. Like, don't become dehydrated, especially if you're racing somewhere like Fiji. You want to make sure that you keep your hydration levels pretty high. Yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to talk about. This is my first ever video about the Spartan race. Yes, I'll probably make some better ones in the future, but maybe I'll talk about like my experience doing the Fiji Spartan race in particular, because I guess this video is more so like, hey, here's how you train, here's how you prepare for race day, here's how you keep mentally focused during race day, but just don't give up. Like literally just don't give up. Like that is like one of the best things I can just tell you. Just keep going. Don't let those like bad voices, those voices that are like, hey, like you could be at home right now, you could be eating some ice cream, or you could be having a nice meal. You could be like cold up with your missus, but just focus on just the next kilometer and then the next kilometer and then the next kilometer. But yeah, so good luck for your race if you're gonna do the ultra race now. I never thought I could have done an ultra race. Like, I remember being like 17, doing my first Spartan race and being like, damn, people really run 50 kilometers. That's insane. But yeah, so good luck for your race. If you have any other questions, if I missed anything, just like mention it in the comments. I'll do some future videos on this topic because I do like running Spartan races. Even though I'm not one of the elites and I don't compete in the competitive waves, I still love these races. Like, I think everyone should do a Spartan race. Not the 50, maybe not the 50, but the 5K, the 10K. I'll do some future videos about like those races as well and how to prepare. So yeah, but thanks for watching, and good luck.